Hey everybody, KC here. So, we spend a lot of time here on Morning News Beat talking about movies. We love movies, right? And listen, let's face it, Michael and I co-wrote a book about the movies, The Big Picture, Essential Business Lessons from the Movies, available even now on Amazon.com. But I also think that the movie theater business is an interesting and relevant reference point for retailers. Now, think of it. These movie theaters, they're enormous brick and mortar locations, right? They largely look the same as all of their competition, and they're only as good as the content inside. Online competitors have put a lot of them out of business, or at least certainly squeezed them in a lot of different ways. And they continue to be squeezed in otherwise by a really competitive environment when it comes to how people entertain themselves. Does that sound familiar to you? It certainly does to me. Now, late last year, it was interesting. The National Association of Theater Owners, NATO, not that NATO, announced a 3-year, $2.2 billion makeover plan that was going to be implemented by movie chains that include AMC, Regal Cinemas, and Cinemark. And they together represent something like 21,000 screens, or roughly 70% of the North American box office. So this is a big deal. Now, what's interesting about this is in some ways they're trying to reinvent themselves. They're not just going to offer things like enhanced viewing and better seats and better food, but also where possible and where it kind of works, they're going to do things like arcades, bowling alleys, pickleball courts. They don't want to be just movie theaters. They want to be entertainment centers because they believe that will allow them to redefine themselves. Now, cast me as just a little bit skeptical on this, but I do understand the impulse. Listen, my desire to go to a movie theater is a lot less today than it was just a few years ago. But I'm going to be honest with you. It would be lessened even more if I know when I'm going there, I'm going to be competing with people who are going to go bowling or they want to play pickleball. And by the way, those are two sports that make an awful lot of noise, in case you hadn't noticed. Well, as for food, I'm sorry. I'm still of the opinion that in a movie theater, the food tends to be mediocre and overpriced. If I'm going to eat in the movie theater, which I generally don't do, I just buy a big thing of Twizzlers, stick them on my coat, and bring them in myself. I do think, though, I will admit, my sample size is pretty small. I think there are probably a lot of theaters out there that do a better job with food than I'm even aware. For me, the movie theaters in my area, I sort of think of as being like Stop and Shop when it comes to innovation. Now, it was interesting to see that Grubhub, which is now owned by Mark Lohr and his Wonder business, basically they've contracted to deliver movie theater food to people around the country in their homes. Now, I'm not sure this is a winning proposition. One of the advantages of watching movies or TV shows at home is I can make my own food. I can make my own snacks. They tend to be better, fresher, and a lot less expensive. But listen, maybe they'll find out what the traffic will bear, and maybe the movie theater business will be able to reinvent itself enough that this will make sense for Grubhub. Anyway, that's what's on my mind. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.